Got into a little bit of an argument this morning in a Facebook group, and I figured I'd tell you about it because it was very interesting. Let me tell you about it. Hey everybody, it's Allie. I'm on a fantabulous weight loss quest, and hopefully you'll subscribe, come along for the ride, because I put out new videos every day. So I got into it a little bit this morning, of course, first thing in the morning, in one of the Facebook groups. There was somebody who posted, and they are an individual who does not have side effects. Now, I know that some of my subscribers are those people that don't have side effects. I love you, but I hate you. And there is a minority group of people who do not experience any side effects at all while on a GLP1 medication. Doesn't matter the dose, doesn't matter how long they're on it. And those people are very lucky. Some people start out not having any side effects, and then at higher doses, they end up having side effects, right? So there's a lot of variation. I say all this to say that this person who was posting clarified that they do not have any side effects. And their post was kind of offensive, but that's just my opinion. And I didn't get butthurt about it. But essentially what they were saying is that they thought that some people were just using side effects as an excuse, that they were looking for problems that may not be related to the medication. And specifically, the example that this person provided was that they saw where someone had posted that they had had a salad with grilled chicken on it, and afterwards they had stomach cramping, and they were upset because they thought that it was either the chicken or the lettuce that they were having challenges digesting. So, this person explained further that they thought it was just that people were changing their diet, and therefore they were having digestive upset, and that blaming it on the medication was like using it as a scapegoat, or that they were just looking for something to complain about. It was really poorly articulated. It just sounded bad, like all the way around. I read it and I was like, whoa, okay, this is not going to go well. So I understand that for some reason, we live in a world where people think that their experience is the only experience. And I don't know if it has something to do with this phase that we as humans go through in adolescence, where we think everything is about us. We think everybody's watching us, right? I forgot the technical term for it. But it's where you become hyper aware of everyone and everything around you, and you think that you're constantly, being judged and that the world revolves around you, when in actuality it doesn't, and you learn that as you get older, right? I think that sometimes people don't ever grow out of that phase, and so they continue into adulthood thinking that their experience is the only valid experience. And it makes me sad for them because it will limit a lot of opportunities in their life, just in general. Because for the most part, people are able to see things from somebody else's perspective. Now, you may or may not agree, which is totally fine, right? I mean, we're all adults. We're capable of having adult conversations. We can disagree and still be friends. But for some reason, these people who don't grow out of this mindset, they are just hell-bent that their experience is the only valid experience. for example, you see this in people who are on GLP-1s who don't feel a difference based off of injection site. Again, this is more of a 50-50 split, so it's a much larger group of individuals, but it's based on the individual, right? Some people will have differences based off of the bioavailability and absorption rate for each injection site, and some people won't feel a difference no matter which injection site they use. Same thing here. Some people will have side effects, some people won't. Some will have it in higher doses, right? So everybody's experience is different. I mean, hell, on GLP-1s, your experience can be vastly different just going from week to week or dose to dose. Like I said before, I spent the first, almost whole year on this medication experiencing extreme constipation that I had to stay on top of, both with supplements and fiber and, right? And then I got to 12.5 and it was like, poof, it was gone. All of a sudden, I just started having normal bowel movements like a normal person. I hadn't changed anything. It was very weird. I don't know of anybody else who's had that specific experience, but I have seen other people who have changed doses, right? Or all of a sudden they start having diarrhea all the time, right? Like, there are so many nuances to each individual's experience. So anyway, getting back to this post. This person decided that basically people who have side effects are a bunch of whiners, was the gist. So I, of course, commented and I was like, hey, being sensitive to certain foods, especially when you're in the first 6 months of being on this medication, is a real thing. There are some people who struggle with vegetables. There are some people who struggle with meat. There are some people like myself that in the first 6 months couldn't even eat red meat because it would sit like a brick and make me feel horrible, right? And now I can. There are some people that struggle with beans and legumes. All these different things. People struggle with dairy. People struggle with red sauce, right? Like, there's all these different aspects and you just don't know how it's going to affect you until you do it. So for this individual to say that someone, was overreacting or complaining or whining because they ate a salad with grilled chicken and they got stomach cramps, that it's really closed-minded. It's really short-sighted. It says to me that you think that your experience is the only one that matters. Now, if you're not having side effects, if you don't have digestive issues, more power to you. But I want to offer a little bit of perspective, because as someone who has struggled with their digestion, ever since they hit puberty, I can tell you that having to do an elimination diet to figure out where the problem is because doctors don't give you any kind of real helpful advice is stressful. Dealing with a gluten sensitivity and you continue to test negatives for celiac disease is stressful. Dealing with lactose intolerance is painful. So for people who have never had to experience those things, I want you to just think back to a time that you got food poisoning and it was just coming out both ends and you felt absolutely horrible. You were in pain. You were, just wishing that it was over. You were contemplating, is this ever going to end? You were praying for help, right? That is what many people experience for the first time in their life when they're dealing with side effects from a medication that slows down your digestion and, can lead to some GI upset. just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Now, as people continue in their journey, I know for me specifically, there was so much that I learned, both from, watching videos and, listening to other people who were experiencing problems, being in support groups, looking at what other people were saying, right? But to completely discount and discredit an entire group of people and be like, well, you're just looking for a problem to blame on the medication. That sounds a lot like, oh, you just have no self-control. That's why you're overweight. You just need to go on a diet and move more. Do you see how it's of that same vein that just completely discredits whatever that person is feeling? It's almost like these people absorb that mentality into their own brain. And the part that kills me is, so when people post and I decide if I'm going to duke it out in the comments or not, I like to go look at their previous posts. And both of the people who were kind of getting after me in this post, both of them had made posts previously in previous months concerned that because they didn't have side effects, the medication wasn't going to work. And then here they were months later, essentially snubbing their nose at people who have side effects, which they don't have any experience with, so they really shouldn't be saying anything about it at all, in my opinion. But then to say something negative on top of that, it just absolutely baffled me. So of course I commented and I was like, yeah, I was kind about it, but I was basically just said, look, just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And of course they both got defensive, and it's one of those things where you're not going to be able to help people. But I just made the point that just because you don't experience something doesn't mean that other people don't. Perfect example, I made a video a while ago about how I joined a group that was specifically for people who were having anxiety and depression while taking a GLP-1. A, because I wanted to be able to help people, and B, I remembered a very short time frame in the beginning of my journey where I did have anxiety and panic attacks that were brought on by the GLP-1, and I wanted to be able to, see what it was that other people were experiencing. Now, I ended up leaving that Facebook group because it was horribly depressing. Every post was just so painful and sad to read that it wasn't good for my mental health. So, but just because it wasn't good for me, it wasn't my experience, doesn't make those people's experience any less real or any less valid. Just because I don't have crippling anxiety attacks and depression now doesn't mean that somebody else won't. And I don't know, it really just kind of rubbed me the wrong way that these two individuals were just saying, well, they just use it as an excuse to give up. Why do you care? Is this your mom? Is this your best friend? Is this, oh no, it's just some random person that posted in a Facebook group, and you're so upset with them, ready to throw in the towel. Do you have any idea how many people post daily in these Facebook support groups and they're like, I feel terrible, the fatigue, the acid reflux, the sulfur burps, I can't stand it, I'm ready to give up. And then they don't, because people comment positive things and offer them assistance. That's what support groups are for. So, somebody coming in there going, I don't have side effects, therefore your side effects are all in your brain. Right? Like, you just want something to complain about. Stop it. Just stop it. Anyway, I like to tell you about these things when they happen, both so I can vent about the ridiculousness that is humanity, but also to provide some perspective. If you are somebody who doesn't struggle with side effects, or maybe you don't struggle with a specific side effect, like constipation, right? Very common. Just because you don't have it doesn't mean that other people don't. And it's also not a valid reason not to be kind and supportive to somebody who is experiencing it and they're looking for help. So if you're going to make a post in a support group, any kind of support group, if you have to put in the post, "Don't come for me" in the comments, you should probably rethink the wording of what you're saying. Now, I say "don't come for me" in the comments in some of my videos because, unfortunately, people will take part of what I say and then they won't watch the rest of the video. And then they'll go to the comments and be like, "Well, I don't agree with you on this." And I'm like, that's not what I said. But if you're making a post, right, and you have to say, "Don't attack me," maybe you should be thinking about what you're saying. Because if you're saying something that you think people will attack you for, and it's because you're a newbie and you don't know the answer, that's one thing. You shouldn't be attacked anyway. You should join my positive only support group so that doesn't happen to you. But on the flip side, if you're posting something crappy and then saying, "Don't come for me" in the comments, you already know it's going to happen. You, on some level, know that what you are saying is offensive, or at the very least, annoying. So try to reword it. Try to think about a different perspective. Try to look at things from somebody else's point of view. And let me just throw this out here as an elder millennial. You don't have to post everything that comes to your noggin on Facebook. I'm just saying. It's not a requirement. I don't know at what point people started doing that. I think it started back in the day with MySpace. Make sure you like this video if you had a MySpace page, right? People would just comment every thought that they have. Well, and one of the people were like, "Well, I just don't appreciate you attacking me for me making an observation." No, you didn't. If you were observing squat, you would have known that what you wrote was annoying and did not need to be a Facebook post. It just wasn't necessary. For the small handful of other people who are equally as short-sighted and closed-minded to agree with you and be like, "I agree, people are whiners." Listen, if you don't want to hear whining, don't join a support group. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. I just solved the problem for you. If you don't want to see people upset, complaining, whining, asking for help, if you don't like any of those things, a support group is not the place for you. So glad that I could solve that problem for you. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you have experienced somebody trying to tell you that your side effects are just all in your head, make sure you comment down below and let me know. Have you subscribed? You know, it's really weird because something crazy like 32% of people who watch my videos are not even subscribed. What is that? Where are you people coming from? If you are one of those people, comment down below and tell me Did the video just pop up on your news feed? Like, is someone sharing it with you? How is it that you're seeing my content and you're not subscribed? And then after you do that, I want you to go check out some of my other videos, because I have helpful tips and tricks that can help you on your health journey. And as always, be kind, rewind. Kevin, are you happy that I'm home from my doctor's appointment? Would you like a chew? Do you want to chew? You gotta tell me. You gotta use your words. Chew. Boop. All right, I'll give you a chew.